beekeepers depend on that money for their operating expenses for the year. If later they sell splits or they make a bunch of honey, then they can maybe buy a new Humvee or something, but RV or whatever. You know, they have money, but to pay their people and keep the trucks going and all that, they need that almond money. And so they like the responsiveness of Italian bees to nectar and pollen. For people that don't do that, you know, the bees, like living in Minnesota or Michigan or Washington State or Idaho, that might not be the best bee for you. We've been breeding bees since about the late 90s, but seriously since 2000, 2001 when we got a large grant. And it was in part because of the concern of the USD over losing some of the genetic resources because of Africanized bees. So this grant allowed us and Cornell University to start a breeding program, which Cornell then never did. But what we did is in 2000 and 2001, we bought queens from every queen producer that advertised and that, you know, had them for sale. So we bought about 300 queens and set them up into hives, and then we assessed them for certain things, you know, hygienic behavior, honey production, gentleness because we don't wear gloves, things like that. And in the end, we selected the top 12 of all those mothers, and they got to be what we called they were the mother of a subfamily. So we maintained for about 5 or 6 years. We maintained 12, then 10, then 8. We kind of trailed off, but 12 subfamily lines. So what that meant was each of those 12 queens, we produced 30 to 40 daughters when they put them in hives. And then all you had to do as to be the queen mother the next year was beat out the other 30 in your group. You know, you didn't have to beat out the 300. And so then we selected the top queen of each subfamily and maintained those separately, even though they're mating to a common drone pool. So after a few years, you lose the advantage of maintaining those separate because they're all mating to the same pool. So at that point, we see the reason you wouldn't start off with 300 queens, select the top 12, and then select the top 12 the next year, is they could all be daughters of one queen, right? Those top 12. So by maintaining the separate subfamily lines, we reduced inbreeding, if that makes sense. But after the 5 or 6 generations, we then started just selecting the top 12, so they could have been sisters, but then we're adding in through the drone mother side. So we make all these cells, we put them out in nukes in a place that doesn't have bees around it. We've put virgins there before and know that 75% of them will come back and become drone layers. Why would they become drone layers?
They're not fertilized.
Yeah, it's because they couldn't find a mate. So you know, this is not a good place for bees really, but it's a good place for bee breeding because it's not a good place for bees. So not a lot of beekeepers move their bees around on wheat fields, right? So this is a place that away from here. So so what we now do is we move, say, we graft from our top 3 or 4 colonies in that whatever in the what we call the WSU program stock, and then the next 10 in our assessment become drone mother colonies, and they get moved there, and then we might move in, hey, maybe this black beauty or that black beauty and a couple of other stocks we really like. We'll move them in as drone mothers, so their drones can mix in the big pool, and you're adding genetics that way and reducing inbreeding. But you're not making a wholesale swap. Like if you grafted from that one, then all her daughters would be 50% that one. You see what I mean? So,
yeah.
So we're kind of maintaining the integrity of the